Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thought about filing an amendment to rename the bill the Completely Out of Touch Act, but I think that's fairly obvious. This bill and most of the energy bills before us today simply demonstrate how out of touch the policies of Republicans in Congress are. You know, you would have thought that after 2 months, when the Speaker shut down the House of Representatives and members were at home for 2 months, that they would have rushed back to the Congress to work on anything to lower the cost of living. But alas, no. Their priority is to talk about showerheads. I know the President doesn't want to talk about affordability. He said that explicitly. In fact, yesterday he said this whole affordability thing is a con job. The President and House Republicans appear to be completely distracted from what is important. The President has focused on giving the White House a makeover. He tore down the entire East Wing to make way for a 90,000 square foot, $300 million ballroom funded by corporations who have something to gain from this administration. That ballroom has gone from 500 square feet to 650 square feet to 999 square feet to now it's proposed to over 1,300 square feet. You can't make this up. He's covered the Oval Office and seemingly every surface he can find with bargain bin gold gilding. Have you heard about the Arc de Trump that he is planning to construct between the Lincoln Memorial and Arlington National Cemetery for over $100 million? And his latest project has been renovating the Lincoln bathroom, complete with golden shower heads. Yeah, this tells you about exactly what President Trump and Republicans care about. Meanwhile, our neighbors back home are facing a holiday season with much higher costs, higher inflation. Inflation's gone up just about every month of the Trump administration. His import taxes and tariffs now are the highest since 1935. It's estimated that all of the tariffs now are adding about $1,700 per household across the country, and you laugh. You laugh, ha-ha, shower heads. This is what we should focus on, and you've completely abdicated any responsibility to push back on these arbitrary illegal tariffs. Meanwhile, you refuse to discuss any solution to the healthcare cliff that 40 million Americans are facing. Over 4 million of my Florida neighbors now feel like they're being pushed off the cliff by Republicans in Congress who refuse to develop a solution. But showerheads, that's important. Besides healthcare cost hikes, 80 million Americans are struggling to pay their utility bills. They're forced to make the impossible choice between paying for housing, medicine, food, or to keep the lights on. Under the Republican Big Ugly Bill, electricity prices will increase 61% over the next decade. That's on top of the $29 billion in electricity bills rate hike. In Florida, Florida Power and Light and TECO and Duke Energy have all gotten price hikes. They've called them the largest in the history of the country, billions of dollars in rate hikes. But showerheads, you know, there are real problems that we can solve together. People deserve so much better than what this Republican Congress is providing. This committee should serve the American people, not genuflect to the president over his shower heads. We don't need to redefine what constitutes a shower head. The only thing that this bill does is create more regulatory uncertainty. It could lead to rollbacks. It's contrary to the law, the Energy Policy and Conservation Act. It likely will benefit foreign manufacturers. This bill also requires enforcement at the Department of Energy, but the president has fired arbitrarily public servants who served there. Well over 3,500 employees have left. And you know, there is one simple solution. It's called going down to your hardware store to address the line buildup in your line. Mm-hmm. You don't need to pass a law. You don't need to ignore the real needs of our families and small businesses back home. You don't need to laugh and bring this and turn a blind eye to the grift and corruption that runs deep in this administration. We can work together and solve real problems. I'm not going to give up hope on that, but this pushes us farther away from that goal today. I urge my colleagues to oppose this bill, and I yield back.